do you want?
HDS, sir. And how are you this afternoon? Alrighty then. I have a package for you.
Sounds broken.
Most likely, sir. I'll bet it was something nice, though.
This girl, how far are you willing to go to save her?
I'd die for her.
Oh, good. Now, where is it?
Drop that zero and give it to hero.
Dude, what does my tattoo say?
Sweet!
What about mine? Dude, what does mine say? Sweet! What about mine?
Punch yourself in the mouth.
What?
You heard me. Punch yourself in the mouth. Right now, it's an order.
Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the intersection of faith, family, and filmmaking. You're listening to Fearless with Mark and Amber, a behind the scenes of our filmmaking ministry, Fearless Features, where we are creating educational, documentary films about the issues impacting our culture and society from a biblical perspective, and pursuing truth above all else. I'm Amber Archer, and joining me is my husband, author, director, speaker, Mark Archer.
I don't even know what that means, okay?
You can learn more about us and the movies we're making by visiting fearlessfeatures.org. It's also a great place to make that one-time or monthly donation if you are passionate about reaching the lost for Christ through film. Visit fearlessfeatures.org to share your support today.
Have a good day, I guess.
Have a good day, I guess.
Here we are to have a good day, I guess.
I forgot my glasses.
Do you need to go get them?
Yeah, just a minute.
I can occupy everybody while you're going to get your glasses.
Please do.
So we're going to talk about going to the TPUSA Pastors Summit. And we had a good time, and we've got some clips to share. Are you back yet?
Very good time. I'll get my ears in, and I'll be on air just a moment.
Because people are waiting for you.
I doubt that, but it's okay.
Because I don't have a whole lot to say at the moment. And then the second half of the show, we're going to talk about the occult again.
Yes.
And so that'll be fun.
Well, and interesting being at the Pastor Summit, just how ironic. You know, we really felt like the Lord was saying, okay, you guys, you really need to go.
Yeah.
And Mark and I have never been ones for conferences, right?
Can I say why I haven't been one for conferences?
Yes, I was going to get to that, but go ahead.
So many decades of my life as a videographer.
The camera guy.
Working conferences.
Yes.
And
so they lost their appeal a long time ago.
Yeah.
And
always the guy in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when this summit came about, we were invited by a friend, a pastor friend, and he said, you guys should really pray about coming. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Well, the more that we prayed about it and actually talked about it, we thought, this is probably going to be a really good event. We should maybe go. And so, looked at it, put our budget together, reached out to everybody. Thank you, all of you who helped support our trip. We're going to share about it here.
We have stories.
We do have stories. But I think one of the God winks, if you will, along the way is day 2 into this pastor summit. And one of the pastors got up and started talking about Alice Bailey. So ironic. We'll play a part. I took like a 2-minute video of him.
Yeah. And
we'll play that here in a little bit. But you want to start off with how our trip went?
Well, so we weren't sure.
When we say behind the scenes, folks, this is behind the scenes.
We weren't sure. So here in Indiana, here in these here parts, that 24-hour flu bug has been going around. Yeah. And I didn't realize that I had it a week or 2 ago. Didn't last but maybe half a day with me. And
none of the rest of our family got sick.
Right. And I was just sick as a dog. I had no idea what. Had I eaten something? Was it some supplement that I took? I don't know. And just kind of brushed it off. Well, then the week before we were to leave.
Okay, we're supposed to leave on Monday morning.
Right.
And it's Thursday afternoon. And I come down with this 24-hour bug.
And then
I thought it was food poisoning, honestly.
And then you started getting over it. And then Elizabeth, our eldest, came down with it.
On Saturday.
Right. And then our youngest, Katie, came down with it.
Saturday night.
That night. And
so there's one holdout.
There's one holdout, our middle daughter, Hannah. And we're thinking, well, worst case scenario, we can leave a day late. because we were going to drive on Monday, and then Tuesday was just afternoon, like late afternoon check-in kind of thing. And the conference is really on Wednesday.
And timeout pause. Let me just say, so if you're new to this podcast and new to our ministry and what we do, listen, we are missionaries and we take our children with us everywhere. They have gone all over the country with us as we interview people. They have met all kinds of people who are working in different avenues of kingdom building.
Yeah.
Really. So them going with us is not out of the ordinary. And we travel to get where we go one, we go all.
So anyway, Monday we left a little bit late. We said, okay, well, we'll wait and we'll leave a little later just to make sure. And Hannah was feeling fine. We were all basically over it, ready to go. And then we got down into Middle Tennessee.
Yeah. And
then Hannah comes down with it.
And then she gets sick.
While we're in the van.
Well, we stopped to eat and, it's dinner time. So we stopped to eat and enjoy our meal. We're just off of the interstate and we have, so my twin, she comes with us to stay with the kids when we have to go to these conferences and if we're interviewing. So she's always like the tag along nanny for us. And we're trying to decide. We thought, we look on the maps and it's it says it's faster to go this other route that's off of the interstate.
Never trust Siri.
So we're like, oh, okay, this could be scenic. This could be good. We just filled up in the gas. We're good. We're in the hills of Tennessee.
It was scenic.
It's starting to get dark as we're driving along. And then Hannah gets sick.
And then she starts.
So we're pulling over and stopping every 5 or 10 minutes because she is just sick. And fortunately, before we even left the house, I double bagged a bunch of, grocery bags. You got Myers and Walmart bags and everything that you could find just in case somebody got sick. Because I thought inevitably, I don't know where we're going to be if there's going to be a rest stop. So we decide that we're going to take the scenic route. And then Hannah starts getting sick. Now it's getting dark. There's no cell service where we are. We are thick into the mountains of Tennessee trying to make our way to Gainesville, Georgia.
We're southern Tennessee. So this road is, on the map, it just looks like it's bendy back and forth, but it's up and down back and forth.
It
is through the hollers.
Yeah. Car sick doesn't even
and there is no infrastructure, there is no turning around. We did find a welcome center to one town and it had Wi-Fi.
Yes. That was the only way we could get any kind of cell service or connection, fortunately.
Because we stopped because Hannah was sick again.
She was sick.
And all of us were trying to get a signal on our phones. And I went, wait, let's see if there's free Wi-Fi. It's a welcome center. So I get on, there's free Wi-Fi. So I figured.
So we're mapping this out, right? We're thinking hope is in sight.
And by the way,
yes,
I still carry the trusty Garmin GPS. This is a 20-plus-year-old, Garmin GPS. And the reason is because the Garmin does not need a cell signal.
No, it does satellites.
It's as long as it can get satellite signal.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time that it has saved us.
No, West Virginia was another.
West Virginia, we got in the same situation in the phones because the phones are always getting mapping data from the cell towers.
Yeah.
And so once they lose that signal, they get lost.
Yeah. So we're driving along. It's dark. I finally tell Hannah, I was like, you're just going to have to puke in the bag, right? Like I'm just going to say that's, we got to keep going. We have to get to Georgia.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, we come across a gas station. Okay. Because we've been driving for a while now. I mean, it's 7:30, 8 o'clock-ish.
Yeah.
And
we still have 2.5 hours to go.
Right.
To get to our destination.
So we stop at this gas station. I can take her to the bathroom where she can just relax for a minute. And I get back in the car after Mark has filled up the gas. And I look at my sister and the kids, and I'm like, if anybody else has to go now. We don't know where the next rest stop is going to be. You know, we're off of the main interstate. And everybody looks just flush in their face. And they're like white. And my sister looks at me and she says, just get in the car. We have to leave right now. And I said, what? I was like, what just happened? She says, I'll let Mark tell you when he gets back in the car. So you wanna fill everybody in.
So this was interesting. So I didn't really need gas, but I figured, well, we're here. All right. So I went in, and I mean, it was interesting because it was a very old gas station, very old gas pumps. So you had to go inside and pay first. And so I gave him my credit card, and then I went out and I filled up. And then when I went back in to pay to get my receipt, and he looks at me, he's got this real thick Southern accent. And he just looks at me and he says, y'all come through Coker Creek, did you? Now, Coker Creek is the name of this little holler town in Tennessee. And I'm not poking fun at Coker Creek. I'm sure it's very lovely in the daytime. But we did not have a pleasant experience because we got stuck.
A sick child.
Going through there with a sick child. And I just looked at him. I said, yeah. That's where we came through. You know. There's only one road through the mountain pass, right? So obviously, I said, why is that? And he just looks at me and says, well, it's a good thing you got through Coker Creek before dark. And I went, oh.
Very cryptic message happening here.
Why is that? And there's a pause, and he looks at me and he says, it's just a good thing you got through Coker Creek before dark. And I went, okay.
Yeah.
And I took my card, and he goes, y'all need a receipt? Nope, I don't need a receipt.
We're out of here.
I do not need a receipt. I need a nitrous bottle in my van actually right now. So we, so then I got in the van and I told them what had happened.
Hey, listen, I think we've watched one too many scary movies, especially my sister. She's talking to me. And then this guy's on his cell phone. Looks like he's calling people. I mean, you literally just have these nightmarish thoughts of you're going to get carjacked. There's no cell service. Who's going to come and help you? You're out of town. I mean, we've read the bad headlines. You've seen this stuff actually happen.
So note to self.
I'm sure it was a very pleasant town.
Men, make sure that you travel armed.
Yeah.
We do. So yeah, it was, and you could just hear the deliverance music.
Hey, listen, but that's not even the best part. Wait till we get to the Airbnb that we were staying at.
Oh yeah.
So all of this has happened and transpired, and we finally get to our destination. It's 10 o'clock at night, right? It literally looks like a war zone. There's craters. I'm not talking just potholes. This is not what we're talking about. And if you're watching on the video, you can see this crater and how deep it is. And it spanned almost the entire street. And you literally had to go up on the sides to even get down to your destination where you were going. So
yeah, because I'm not driving an SUV. I'm driving the minivan, and it does not have a lot of ground clearance. And I stopped because we came in at night, and I stopped and I went, I can't go over that. I'll bottom out the van. I'll tear off the oil pan. I'm not doing that. And we got down there, and then the Airbnb was a little rough.
It was rough, and needless to say, we left the next morning.
Went to a hotel.
We went to a hotel. Just forget it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they advertise that it's in this high-end, nice neighborhood. Yes, there's a bunch of new construction all around with
that ain't it.
Really ritzy condos going up, but this was the OG neighborhood is what it was.
Yeah. So, I mean, nothing against it, but it just was not... It wasn't going to make for a pleasant stay.
No.
That's for sure. So
I'm sure that many listening have dealt with similar types
Yes.
of things. It was entertaining, but the conference was very good. It was
Amazing.
It was refreshing for us because we are always trying to connect with pastors, strong warrior pastors who get it. And listen, it's a rarity
Yeah.
to find pastors who really understand what's going on and will talk about it. And then you had one pastor in particular that you wanted to mention who
Yes.
was talking about Alice.
Alice Bailey. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his last name, but some of you might know, and I think it's called 22 Words or something. I can't remember. He made a documentary or a movie about him speaking up at one of the school boards. It's Pastor John Amanchukwa. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I'll leave a link to his movie or his page or something in the show notes so you guys can look
He's
him
a
up.
powerful speaker.
Oh, he was great. Very dynamic.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're sitting here listening to him, and gosh, I took a whole lot of notes. Let me see if I had one on him.
So while you're looking for that, so the point of this conference was it was for pastors. We kind of, we were invited by a pastor to come because we speak to pastors. We have kind of a pastoral ministry. People tell us that they feel like we're preaching at them in our movies. So it was good for us, and we got to reconnect with some pastor friends from around the country. And Rob McCoy, of course, is a big part of this. Charlie Kirk.
Yep.
He helped him start it. So Charlie Kirk was there. Rob McCoy, who's in Dysphoria. And
Micah Beckwith, who's also in Dysphoria, was speaking.
Who's also the lieutenant governor of Indiana now. And so just a lot of, and Riley Gaines. That was
Riley
really
Gaines, Matt Walsh.
Yeah, Matt Walsh was there.
So some of the, from Pastor John here, some of the things that I took away when he started to speak, he said, if the golden age doesn't lead to streets of gold, where are we going? I thought it was such a great, as he started to speak, when Trump talks about, entering the golden age of America and just how that resonated as soon as he said it. And I thought that is so true. And he said, the tone from the top comes from the God of the Bible.
Yeah.
And yes. And he said, if we are afraid to create a ruckus, people won't hear the truth. So if you're afraid to have people looking at you while you speak the truth.
There was somebody else who made a comment about that the problem in America is that we have too many peacetime pastors and we're living in a war.
I think Charlie Kirk started off with that.
Yeah, I think it was Charlie Kirk. And again, I'm not trying to pick on all pastors because not all pastors are like this, but there are a lot that, and it's not just pastors, it's men, especially in the churches that they're soft, if you will. We have in our culture this mindset of don't rock the boat, protect your wealth, protect your investments, and that has permeated the culture, and so that is the pool from which you end up drawing church leadership, people that have that mindset, and that is why the churches have gotten soft on these things and they won't talk about the real issues. But let me play this clip here. So this is from something from your phone.
Yeah, I just took out my phone because Pastor John started speaking, and then all of a sudden we're sitting there, and it was...
He's talking about Alice Bailey.
He starts talking about Alice Bailey, and I'm like, you're kidding me.
Yeah, and what he's talking about here is her goals that she laid out for the education system, 10 goals that she laid out. So let me play this, and then we can talk about it real quick.
Yeah.
The United States of America. This is the first thing she wanted to do. She wanted to take God and prayer out of the education system. And that was successfully done in 1962 after the Eagle v. Vitale court case. Number 2, she said reduce parental authority over the children. That's why we have all these bouts today with who's responsible for the children. And now kids can go to school and be sexually transitioned and the parents aren't even notified. Number 3, she said destroy the Judeo-Christian family structure or the traditional family structure. Number 4, she said if sex is free, then make abortion legal and make it easy. Number 5, make divorce easy and legal. Free people from the concept of marriage for life. Number 6, make homosexuality an alternative lifestyle. Number 7, debase art and make it run mad. Number 8, use media to promote and change mindsets. We see that happening every day. Number 9, create an interfaith movement where Christianity is on the equal plane with all other faiths. And number 10, here is the clincher. Get governments to make all these laws and get the church to endorse these changes. If you're wondering why so many have caved to the culture, have gone the other way, and they refuse to speak the truth, it's because the church is now endorsing what the culture has said. We're not called to endorse the culture. We're called to lead the culture and to correct the culture and to reprove the culture. We're called to go counterculture. And sometimes counterculture is a lonely road.
Yes, it is a lonely road.
Yes, it is a lonely road. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
It is what I will say.
Yeah. If you think if those points sound familiar, you don't even have to. You should watch Dysphoria because we talk about this. But you can just get on Google the 45 communist goals for America.
Yep.
That is exactly where those come from.
Yep.
So as you study all of these people and you see these common threads and you realize that they all have these common threads of their goals for the world and for America, it's communism, it's socialism, it's tyranny, it's elimination of Christianity, it's controlling your kids, it's controlling the economy, it's all satanic. And so that's it's just that's where it comes from.
Well, and I think too, because we've talked about this many times as we were there, and Charlie took the stage and he kicked it off on Tuesday afternoon. He had 3 different types of churches that he talked about. He talked about the true church, the ones that thank God and deliver the message courageously to the time that's happening right now. There's the trembling churches, those that publicly it goes through a filter, so not to, rock the boat or offend anyone.
This is most churches.
This is most churches. And then there's the traitorous churches, and those are your BLM and LGBTQ, those that pervert the gospel across the board. And it's so true. I mean, there were...
and again, if you watch Dysphoria, we call these churches out.
Yeah.
It's most of the churches today, they're the trembling churches. And it's not that they're preaching false doctrine necessarily, but they're not speaking the full counsel of God. We were talking about how just you take the book of Judges, right? In the Old Testament. How can you do, as a pastor, as a church, how can you do a study on the book of Judges and then say we don't do politics?
Well, and I think it goes back to another thing that he said, because he said this, we have a peacetime force. We're talking about the churches in America, soft, weak churches. We have a peacetime force in a wartime moment.
Yes.
And so, just those simple takeaways, understanding really why we get up and do this every day.
Yeah. But
people need to wake up.
But the Bible is full of politics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
absolutely.
What the whole Old Testament is: war after war after war. What is war? It's kinetic politics. That's what it is. It's nation against nation, people group against people group. it cracks me up. It's sad, but I think how could you do a book like Judges and say we don't do politics? That's all it is. It's war after war. It's kinetic politics.
It's selective through a filter.
Yeah. And so, and all politics is the business of the city. So when a church says we don't do politics, it doesn't mean you have to get up there and discuss tax policy. But to say we don't do politics is to say we don't care about the business of the city. We only care about our own business. And that's not the church.
No.
So anyway, so thank you all for those of you who supported us and prayed for us. We got a lot out of it. We made
very
some
encouraged,
connections, very encouraged,
refreshed.
Yeah. So anyway, so speaking of being encouraged and refreshed, we'll go to break and come back and talk some more about the occult. Yay! Okay, BRB.
You don't have to be a rocket scientist to connect the dots here and see where this is going. They are going to intrude in families. It's going to get much worse. It has already started. Unless and until people put their foot down, it's going to get really, really ugly.
When you first research this issue, the only things that come up are affirm your child. This is a really significant issue that your child has now fallen into.
This is evil. This is absolute evil that is coming at our kids. And if our faith community is not going to stand between that evil and our children, I don't know what hope we have.
There's absolutely no way that we could have gotten from 2015 to 2018 where we had transgender everywhere, okay? It took them almost 15 years to get gay marriage. Well, it took them 3 to 5 years to get this transgender stuff.
When you stand by and do nothing, then you are essentially saying, I'm okay with the human carnage and the human suffering that is coming from this transgender, gender ideological agenda.
This is something that is affecting families in possibly every congregation in America.
The way that the devil and his forces lose this is by speaking truth.
God will not hold us guiltless for our cowardice, and that's what it is. It's cowardice in the pulpit. It's cowardice in our churches. It's cowardice from Christians in government.
Do what you're doing for the generations to come. Do your job.
All right. So we took a little break from talking about the occult, Alice Bailey in particular, and Helena Blavatsky. Mm-hmm. And remember when we were talking about them, and I said that there are what they describe when you listen to the words of the occultists. And Alice Bailey herself talked about the White Lodge and the Black Lodge. Mm-hmm. And so basically my understanding, I'm not an expert, but my understanding reading the words of the occultists is that the White Lodge is what we've been talking about, which is New Age spiritualism, mm-hmm. Hinduism, Christianity, all these things being kind of melded together. It's everything that Alice Bailey talked about. It's all demonic, mm-hmm. but it's the kind of stuff that has permeated into our cultures and even into the churches. Mm-hmm. We've seen churches even use things like Enneagrams, personality tests, as they try to evaluate staff. Well, this is an occultic practice.
But it's so helpful, Mark.
Well, and I think that a lot of people, again, because the churches have stopped teaching about the supernatural, mm-hmm. Largely. And so out of ignorance, I'm not saying that they did it on purpose because they're secretly occultists. I'm just saying that they're ignorant. Mm-hmm. And that's why they do these things. So that's the White Lodge. Now we've got Black Lodge mm-hmm. stuff that I want to share with you. And I want to...
And these terms come from?
These come from Alice Bailey's book. Before that, I want to read scripture to just set the record straight here. This is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31. And the Lord said, "Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God." New Living Translation. "Do not defile yourselves by turning to mediums or to those who consult the spirits of the dead. ESV, this one's interesting. Do not turn to mediums or necromancers, which is a term that we don't hear a lot, but if you've watched Lord of the Rings, you've heard of a necromancer. Do not seek them out, and so make yourselves unclean by them. I am the Lord your God. So, White Lodge magical stuff, speaking to the spirits of the dead, supposedly, and yeah, the Lord says this is an abomination. Don't do it. Don't even flirt with it. So just to set the record straight. Now, what we're going to talk about is the darker side of things, and it should be obvious that this stuff is not anything that you should mess with. In fact, if you have kids, you should pause this and come back to it, because this is pretty heavy stuff.
And so where do we see this that you're getting ready to talk about? How do we see this playing out in today's culture?
Well, a lot of it is still very hidden.
Okay.
What I'm going to read to you is, and this is probably going to take us into next week as well. This is, I'm going to read some excerpts from the memoir of a former Satanist. Okay. And he wrote this before he died.
But I will say, just based on some of the other research that we have done, this stuff is, it is available. I can remember, gosh, what's that info guy's war's name?
Alex Jones,
who infiltrated Beech Grove. And
it was,
what was it called? Isn't it Beech Grove?
No, it's not Beech Grove. Bohemian Grove.
Yes. Thanks. And so these types of things, because I've read this guy before.
Yeah.
So what we're getting ready to talk about, there's a lot of people who have researched this stuff, and it does still happen today.
Oh, it's happening more and more. And in fact, I give credit where credit's due. I discovered this thread listening to Alex Jones, and in particular Jay Dyer, who fills in for him. Jay Dyer is super brainy. Love listening to him. I'm reading one of his books right now, and he's pretty amazing. But he was talking about this this memoir, which is where I got this. So let me kind of flesh this out for you. In an explosive deathbed confession, a former head of the Satanist Alpha Lodge in Sydney, Australia, revealed the pervasive worldwide power of organized Satanism, which is synonymous with the Illuminati. Again, Illuminati, not a conspiracy theory. It is a real thing. Things are not as they seem, and they have not been for a long, long time, he wrote, describing a wholesale betrayal of society by its ostensible leaders. Peter Narsagonen was his name, a.k.a. Frater 616. That's his satanic name. Okay. So they've all got their real name and their satanic names. Died March 25th, 2004. Recently, his executor, an Aloysius Fosdike, also a satanic name, sent the 15-page document by email to Arthur Christian, webmaster of loveforlife.com.au. Now we'll put these links in the show notes. Now I'm going to warn you, be careful about reading this, because this stuff messes with your head. So you have to inoculate yourself first with scripture and ask the Lord to give you strength, because this stuff gets really dark. Certainly be careful where you leave copies of this laying around. Okay. What follows is a synopsis of this very shocking document focusing on satanic power and influence. Satanic influence is now so pervasive as to not be readily noticed, Frater says. Satanists are laced throughout Australian society, and the pattern is replicated everywhere. They include politicians, doctors, high-ranking police officers, lawyers, decorated military men, media personalities, fashion models, and social workers. The most talented have lifestyles maintained by crime under a veneer of respectable professionalism and knowledge. Marginal types, prostitutes and drug dealers, are important to Satanism, but they are merely tools. Frater explains he got involved in a satanic group in a university in 1971. A mentor in the satanic network set him up in the travel business, and for years, Frater lived a life of unimaginable wealth, occultism, and debauchery. He studied the black arts, which is divination, dark meditation, social emotional learning, teaches kids meditation, sacrifice, sexual vampirism. I don't even know what that is. I don't want to know. Voodoo dolls and sex magic. Each day ended with a black mass orgy of unforgettable and unspeakable delight, end quote. The U.S.-based Church of Satan was the public face of an ancient body whose very existence had never before been imagined. He lists it. Now, brace yourselves for some of these names I'm going to read. Again, I'm not vouching for this. This guy, you got to remember that this is a Satanist, and Satan, they follow Satan, who's the father of all lies. So I don't know if these names are valid or not, but he's going to list off people who were part of the satanic church, according to him.
Okay, wait, can I just, I was curious. I had to look up the sexual vampirism.
Okay.
I won't read what it all is, but practitioners believe that sexual vampirism could enable them to maintain eternal youth and become a Daoist Zion. I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Okay.
Influential members in the Church of Satan: J.P. Morgan, the Kennedys, Irving Berlin, Groucho Marx, Elvis Presley. That hurts. Oh, that hurts me. Ted Armstrong, Sammy Davis Jr., Ronald Reagan, the Bush family, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Gerald Ford.
Okay.
I don't know, but these names come up in a lot of discussions. So use that for what it's worth. Intelligence agencies are instruments of the Illuminati central bankers. Frater says American intelligence services funded the occult. Many of America's high-ranking military men were members of various satanic lodges or kindred organizations. They overlapped with organized crime and drug trafficking. Brothels and porn are a small part of the international satanic empire, i.e. Illuminati. Most of the money comes from CIA drug trafficking, sophisticated blackmail, Jeffrey Epstein, money lending, and currency trading. He says the U.S. federal government dances to our tune. Satanists of the highest order are behind a number of wealthy, conservative, new right Christian churches and organizations in America. These are some of contemporary Satanism's best cash flow enterprises and allow mass indoctrination and networking. Okay, now he's going to start talking about Alpha Lodge. Okay, so Alpha Lodge is part of the Dark Lodge.
Okay.
The aim of Alpha Lodge is 66% illiteracy rates in the Western world by 2010. Let's say they got pretty close.
Yeah.
And the destruction of at least 70% of the globe's population by the year 2030.
Notice how education is always at the forefront of any of these schemes and plans of those who seek to destroy humanity. Not just America.
Yeah. Well, you can't have a compliant populace unless you first educate them to be compliant. All right. Most governments count on their sheeple to respond in typical infantile fashion and to identify with, quote, a more powerful force, even if it enslaves, brutalizes, and humiliates them. And I read that and I thought of COVID. You know, most people just capitulated and gave in to, quote, the more powerful force that enslaved, brutalized, and humiliated them. Wearing the mask is when you study Satanism and the occult, you realize that these are all things that are part of a satanic initiation rite to humiliate them. Think of hazing, right? College hazing, military. You got to humiliate the new guy to bring him down so he understands.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Frater attributes the following to the influence of Satanism in the modern world. So they're taking credit for these things. The developed world is heading toward third world status because the central banks are owned by Satanists. Multinationals rape the environment and reap the rewards from Australia's natural resources. The media in the free world is heavily controlled and in bed with the government.
Oh, we've seen that.
We just, the USAID thing just ripped the Band-Aid off of this.
Yeah.
Fluoride in the water supply. That's a whole other subject we don't have time to go into.
Mm-hmm. But if you research it, you will find a plethora of documentaries that have done about this.
Mm-hmm.
There are studies that have done on this. I mean, fluoride in the water. Yeah, watch the water.
Yeah, fluoride used to be known as a toxin. Mm-hmm. And then I was raised believing they put the fluoride in the water to prevent cavities.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we have it in all of our toothpaste.
Yeah, that's what I was told. That's what I believed. Kind of like eating carrots helps you see in the dark, right? Which is
was that the thing? I thought it was just to enhance your vision.
Yeah, to enhance your vision. Well, that was a lie told by the British government in World War II. Educational standards dumbed down. See that pretty.
Check that one off.
Easy. Multiculturalism foisted on the first world. Open borders. This is why they hate Trump.
Yeah.
This is absolutely why they're screaming like demons. Illuminati Satanists behind 9/11. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Mossad, which is the Israeli intelligence service like their CIA, came up with weapons of mass destruction rationale for the Iraq invasion. Illuminati uses Israel to run U.S. foreign policy. Conclusion. Frater says politicians know that if they feign interest in the welfare of the sheeple, they will go along with their policies because it is the line of least resistance. Heidi St. John talked about this in her interview in Dysphoria.
Mm-hmm.
How too many people will willingly go along and vote for someone just because they have an R behind their name without actually understanding their track record on things. Homo sapiens are herd animals after all. Give them an election with no policy choices, and for the most part, they are happy. Allow their children no real prospects of success, inhibit their natural drives, particularly their sex drives. Hello, transgender movement. Limit their options, coarsen their choices, and society, such as it still is, quickly falls apart into predetermined categories. No families, just weak individuals, free to do as they are told.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, Satan is a wonderful systems man. You heard it from the Satanist. The first and foremost responsibility of government is to prevent devil worshippers from taking control. It has failed. What do we say about a youth who can't tell the difference between good and evil? Increasingly, this is the condition of society as a whole. Can I get a witness?
Mm-hmm.
The world indeed is controlled by Satanists who indulge in the most heinous crimes with impunity. Membership in this club appears to be the price of success, whether political, economic, or cultural. Progress and social change are synonymous with mass social induction into Satanism. Every hour of every day and every night, people are knowingly engaged in Satan's service. Human sacrifice, whether ritually and quicker, talking about abortion, is just one of them, but they literally doing human sacrifices, or slowly and degradingly over time, is all harnessed to specific ends. Politicians are introduced by a carefully graded set of criteria in situations that convince them that their victims will be, quote, our little secret. Young children sexually molested and physically abused by politicians worldwide are quickly used as sacrifices. The social contract is broken. Any government that fails to tackle this cancer is illegitimate. Any society that tolerates it deserves what it gets. Again, from the Satanist. And now I've got one of his little poems. I don't know if he wrote it, but this is really blasphemous, really, but I'm going to read it to you. I will go down to the altars in hell, to Satan, the giver of life. O Prince of Darkness, hear me. Our Father which wert in heaven, hallowed be thy name, in heaven as it is on earth. Give us this day our ecstasy, and deliver us to evil, as well as temptation, for we are your kingdom for eons and eons. Just ponder that for a second. This is so wicked. But this is, you have to see, I'm not even sorry. You have to see these people for who they are. This is what they believe. This is straight from the pits of hell. They take the scriptures and they twist them. They pervert them. Satan laughs about this. And as Christians, we can't ignore these things. You got to be aware of just how wicked these people are. And they are out there operating. And they're laughing because you're ignoring them. Satanism flourishes beneath the scintillating midnight blue wet streets and bedeviling phosphorescent lights of Australia's glittering capital cities. Its practitioners are from all walks of life, although marginal types and those with predisposing personalities have always and will always be important to Satanism and its leaders' ends. They are merely tools. Amongst the highest echelons are politicians, medical doctors, police officers. We already talked about this. This is an interesting quote. Their victims are drip-fed straight amnesia by an assortment of mind control measures and psychological torture tactics that would leave any normal person numb with the dawning apprehension that things are not as they seem, and they have not been for a long, long time. Can you think of things that we have in our world that we deal with every day that are drip feeding us amnesia?
Look at the media.
The media, social media. Amnesia is forgetting things. Being drip fed straight amnesia, things that will make you forget things that you should already know.
Well, and I think as you were sitting there and reading a lot of that and just thinking of everything is like here in this world, they're constantly trying to control everybody. And it made me think, what are some of the names and the titles of Satan throughout Scripture? He's accuser of the brethren, adversary, angel of the bottomless pit, the devil, enemy, evil spirit, father of lies, god of this world, the great red dragon, liar, Lucifer, power of darkness, prince of this world, prince of the devils, prince of the power of the air, ruler of the darkness of this world. And it goes on. Spirit that worketh in the children of disobedience. Wicked one, murderer from the beginning. I mean, we are told over and over again in Scripture who Satan is, the father of all lies, and what we're up against. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood.
That's right. I'm going to fast forward in this. There's a lot to this. We might read some more of this next week, but here's an interesting quote. Satanism is a spiritual Darwinian theory based on predation. Predatory. I'll read that again. Satanism is a spiritual Darwinian theory based on predation. Devoted Satanists dedicate themselves and their sex acts to their dark lord. Prayers are said, chants intoned, or invocations recited, all as the basis of obtaining the blessings of hell. Unknown, if not always unsuspected, infernal temples, in capitals, infernal temples exist in every major city throughout the world, Vatican City included. Every hour of every day, and every night people are knowingly engaged in Satan's service. Human sacrifice, ritual sacrifice, is all harnessed to specific ends. Young children sexually molested and physically abused by politicians are quickly used as sacrifices. In Australia, the bodies are hardly ever discovered, for Australia is still a wilderness.
Ugh.
Overseas, cremation is the favored method, and although the satanic alpha lodges of Australia have access to crematoria when needed, this is surprisingly rare. Believe it or not, many bodies are, quote, dumped over the side every week in a number of isolated bushland settings.
Think of that crematory that they found there in Mexico. Was it Mexico?
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's a whole... I'll have to find the article again. Just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there was a report on Fox, and I'll put it up on the video, but there was a report on Fox about the discovery of basically what looked like Auschwitz in Mexico. And it was full of cremation ovens, the remains of hundreds of mostly children.
I got the link.
And this is an interesting side story here before we're done. In Mexico in particular, I was just watching a week or so ago, watching one of the James Bond movies. I think it was Spectre. Okay. And the open sequence of Spectre, James Bond is in Mexico City during Dia de la Muerte, which is their Day of the Dead festival, okay, their celebration. There are idols throughout Mexico that it looks like the Virgin Mary, but it's a skeleton, okay? This is La Santa Muerte, okay, the Saint of Death. And this is one of the demon entities that is worshipped by Satanists, particularly in the cartels. And so they do these horrendous things. So back to this article on Fox, all of these children that basically were sacrificed to this demon god.
And they weren't all children.
They weren't all children, but a lot of children. You think about that. What possible, in the cartel wars, it's one thing if it's other cartel members that they kill and chop up, right? These are children.
No, these are innocent victims.
Right. So this is demonic. This is part of demon worship just south of our border. And it's not just down there. This stuff happens everywhere. So anyway, we're kind of at the end of our time here, and I don't want to freak everybody out too far, but there's more to this that I want to share again next week, because he goes into great detail about one girl in particular who was groomed to be a recruiter and how they went about this and abducting children for use in ritual sacrifices. And it's very detailed. I'll leave out the super gruesome parts, but you need to understand as a Christian, this stuff is very real. There really are Satanists out there. They're not just sacrificing your neighbor's cat.
Right.
Okay. They abduct children. That's what all of this open borders and these 300,000 plus children that have gone missing. This is all because of Satanists and the Illuminati. This isn't just because what other reason would they have for letting all these unaccompanied, undocumented children in, and then they just disappear? It is a mass influx of child sacrifice is what it really was.
And you hate to even say that. People are like, well, no, you that's
I know. And a lot of people are going, okay, he's crazy. Okay,
that's fine. But but we share these things to help you see the spiritual war and battle that's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, you can call me crazy. It's fine. I've been called worse, but that is what's happening. And they're very good at hiding it as well. So Anyway.
All right.
Do you have anything?
No, that's it.
Okay.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, friends. Thanks for listening through to the end, and be sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And share this with your family and friends. Until next time, march on, saints, and be filled with the Spirit.
Man, I'm tired of being right.